It's Oregon week. Let's just do this.
You are Locked On Huskies, your daily podcast on the Washington Huskies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back into another episode of Locked On Huskies. I'm Tomashoff. That's Lars, Hanson. We cover the Huskies with Inside the Huskies for Fan Nation Sports Illustrated. You can check out all our written work over at si.com/college/Washington. Thank you for making this your first watch or first listen of the day. And this episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers can bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. Lars, it's like we said in the cold open, it's Oregon week. Let's just do this because we are recording this, and this is a great place to start with since we're going to start with the offense, as we always do. After Pete Thamel just had a little nice spot on ESPN where he didn't just call out Washington secondary for not having a lot of talent in it. He called out Oregon secondary for not being very good either. With just initial thoughts on how this could play out.
I mean, let's be real. Pete kept it a buck. He kept it a buck. Kept it 100. Yep. I mean, Washington has Jabbar Muhammad, proven lockdown, no problem. But he also hasn't truly faced any receiver the caliber outside of
McMillan, Jacob Cowlings, yeah,
right. Well, no, but he was more matched up against McMillan. So I mean, of the two, I think he'll be matched up more against Troy Franklin Saturday against Oregon. So I think this will be his biggest test to date this season. He's played in the Big 12 last season, so he's been tried and true tested. That's why Washington wanted to go get him. But this is also just a big game for Elijah Jackson, Thaddeus Dixon, and everybody else because of the fact that both teams, I mean, as we all know, everyone's loaded. So It's making sure, okay, if Jabbar locks down his guy, and for Oregon, if Kyrie Jackson plays and not locks down, but does his job against, let's say, Jalen McMillan, right, in the slot.
Sure. Whoever it is, yeah.
Right. Then it's I
know. I think I know where you're going with this.
It's the second and third. You know, the kind of that's where the game is going to be won and lost, right?
Sure.
Because we all know. I mean, as Pete said in his report, this is going to be.
Are you? Do you need me to just pick this up while you get all this?
No, you're good. You're good. There we go. Okay. There we go. Okay. No. So, but I mean, as Pete alluded to in his report, Michael Penix and Bo Nix. I mean, everybody knows this is going to be an aerial attack if we want it to be, which is why I don't think it's actually going to be as much of an aerial showcase as we think. I think. Because it's so obvious, I think both teams have the ability to run the ball. We might actually see more of a run attack than a passing attack just because of that. And maybe this is like, hey, both secondaries show up. Both, Bo Nix and Michael Penix both get held in check, so to speak. And it's on Dylan
Johnson, Bucky Irving.
Exactly, yeah. And everybody running the ball to separate and kind of be the deciding factor in the game.
So I hear what you're saying. I do think it's going to be in just kind of an aerial onslaught, especially when we talk about Washington's offense, because to not only Pete Thamel's point, but it is something that we've been talking about on this show for a couple of weeks, and all the Duck fans in the comments have said, "Oh, well, this defense is really good. You don't know what you're talking about." This Duck secondary hasn't been tested just yet by anybody, and now you're facing the number one passing offense in college football. I think that Washington is going to want to play to its strengths. And if Oregon comes out and shows similar looks that Arizona did a couple of weeks ago, I think that it might be a different conversation. But in my opinion, Washington is going to want to do what it does best, and that's throw the ball all over the yard. They're going to spread it out. I'm feeling we're going to see a lot of 4 receiver sets. Maybe we'll probably see a lot of tight ends. The running backs are going to get involved in the passing game as they always do. But I think that there's just going to be a lot of work with a healthy Jalen McMillan, healthy Jalen Polk, Odunze. Everybody's going to be out there at full strength. So why? I don't know if I want to say play with a hand tied behind your back. If you're going to try to establish the run with what we've seen this passing offense can do, but it's very clear in my opinion at least that this passing offense is going to just be front and center because that's what Ryan Grubb knows that his team does best. And yeah, he can run the ball if he wants to. They showed that with the way that they scored against Arizona. But why just kind of limit yourself when you know that, yeah, we know we can take advantage of this Oregon secondary. I don't care about any of the numbers on that side of the ball. They played Stanford, Portland State, Hawaii. I'm forgetting somebody else in this conversation, but they're Colorado. Yeah, it's not like they're playing a whole lot of good teams.
Right. Well, I think, when people would say, hey, Shadur Sanders was lighting it up and then was held in check against Oregon, well, it's because Colorado doesn't have an offensive line and certainly nowhere near the caliber of Washington's. And what is Washington's offensive line strength? Pass blocking. It's not that they can't run block, but it's just tried and true. Seeing that, PFF grades, sacks, everything. You just look at any version of number that you want. It's clear that Washington is better as a pass blocking offensive line than a run blocking offensive line. So I think, to your point, that's why you're going to have the aerial attack more so than a running attack. But the run game still has to be a factor, right? And that's where Dylan Johnson comes in as a pass catcher more so than anything else, right? Where if he's able to break off a 20-yard catch from 2 or 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage, that's just as good of a run. It's like an extension of your run game, right? But it's still Michael Penix getting a throw, still getting a passing yards, stats and everything like that. Because you don't want to have continued games like when you had against Arizona where he doesn't throw a ton of touchdowns, and it's not what you had against Michigan State or certainly against Cal or anybody else.
Right, and there are things you can say about that Arizona game where it's they were kind of playing to they were giving taking what the defense gave for the most part. And we just kind of look at the film and look at everything that they did. But I think that there's just so much with this Oregon defense where Oregon fans seem to be very excited for whatever reason, where it's, they can get off the passer really well, but they haven't been tested. And Washington, at least with since we're just sticking with the offense here, at least Washington's offense had a slight test, I say in air quotes, against Arizona, where we talked about how that game should have been very different, without the fumble. There were a couple of things where that looks like a 38-17 game or anything like that, were very different outcome, right? But we haven't seen Oregon's defense be tested just yet. And we've been saying this for 2 weeks now since we had the bye, that this isn't just Washington's biggest test. It's also Oregon's. And it's just kind of crazy to see people hyping up this defense where there's a lot of talent on this defense. Yeah, sure. That's fine. That's great. They say, the secondary is so much better. Look at these numbers. Look at these numbers. The strength of schedule is not there. It's not. And if they come out and they lock down Michael Penix, sure, tip your cap. Just say, yeah, okay, great. Maybe we were wrong with this defense. But if he comes out and does what he did last year, it's just kind of, same old, same old. It's not going to be a shock, in my opinion.
Right, exactly. Well, I think it's Ryan Grubb is the guy where if you want to say last year he won it with the fastball, this year he might win it with a slider, right? Where Ryan Grubb is going to still keep the same relative approach, or maybe it's a two-seamer, mixing up your pitches, so to speak, to pay an OG or baseball player. But but the reason why I say that is because we still know Ryan Grubb's not going to get away from the bread and butter because he's admitted such, right? It's hard to run the ball even when you're 21 point, 24, 28 points ahead, just because we're so good passing the ball. So I think that really plays into Washington's strengths against Oregon, where let's run with the theory that Oregon has a really good pass rush, right, and a really good front four, right? Okay, well, even then, more so, wouldn't you want to quick pass, run, get the ball out, be that point guard versus, no, you know what, we're going to try and break through that wall, and then we're going to pass. Like, I still think they're going to run the ball a fair amount, but I don't think it's going to be predicated. The offense will be predicated upon the run.
And because that's just not something that this offense does, right? And that's I feel like that's what it comes down to at the end of the day, where, having that threat of Dylan Johnson is great. And that's going to help out. And I'm sure he's going to play a big role in this game. We'll get to some of that in the bold predictions. But it's going to come down to Jalen Polk, Jalen McMillan, and Rome Odunze making plays against the secondary, which seems very possible. And not just possible, it's just almost like, this is going to happen. How much are they going to let it happen? And if they do like they did last year, then Washington's going to score a lot of points. I feel like that's just the reality of the situation with Michael Penix at quarterback and with everything that this team has just kind of in the supporting cast. Then there's just no way to stop this Husky offense.
And it's also, you're going to have, not that they're not motivated already, but just since J-Mac's been out a few games, you don't think he's going to be motivated to come back and have a big game?
Oh yeah, if there was any just bet on who's going to get the first touch when Washington's offense is on the field, it's Jalen McMillan, and I would slam that if you could find that on FanDuel.
You're right.
And speaking of FanDuel, before we get into the defense, it's time to snap into the action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. And Lars, have you looked at the lines recently? It's a 2.5 for UW right now, right?
Did it go down a little bit?
I think it's going down to 2.5. But Michael Penix is the Heisman favorite now, so that's just hopefully you bet on him sooner. But there's still time to get those bets in right there. And if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockdown and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel is an official partner of the NFL.
I'm just disappointed the over-under's gone down.
Yeah, right. Is it down to 67?
Yeah, 67.5.
Oh, that's not. Come on. That's you know what? Actually, I'm not disappointed in that because it just gives people more room to just slam the over.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's an easy one.
And as we move on to the defensive side here, Lars, what's like even though Pete Thamel did as we kind of just stick with the theme of the show here, he did not give Washington secondary a ton of credit either. What do you think is going to be the biggest key for Washington secondary to slow down Oregon's offense, which is second in the nation behind the Huskies in yards per game?
I mean, because it's really interesting because on one hand, you don't the adage is you don't want to get beat over the top with the long ball, right? You'd rather keep everything in front of you, do everything like that. But the problem with that is it's an Arizona approach. That's how you slow the game down. You draw the game out a little bit more. Your drives become long. The opposing offense, Oregon's offensive drives become longer, and now all of a sudden you're taking possessions away from Washington's offense. So that's
but hold on, sorry. One thing to be fair though, that's how Oregon wants to run their offense. They like the little, the quick screens, just getting the ball out in space and letting their athletes just kind of like make plays.
Which is funny because a couple of their touchdowns last year came from those matched deep shots, right? And right. When you actually had to drive at the end of the game, Washington got to stop when they needed to and got a couple stops when they needed to. So I think that's kind of where my focus is. If the secondary can keep everything in front and really just you can give up a scoring drive every single drive as long as they're field goals, right? Sure. If you mix in field goals with touchdowns, right? Like couple field goals, touchdowns, and because that'll allow Washington's offense because they're not going to settle. But the problem is you also know Oregon's not going to settle, and I doubt we're going to see. I would put the over/under at punts in the game combined at 1.5.
That would be an interesting bet. Maybe we can find that on FanDuel. That's a fun one. For me, my focus is a little bit different because it's the same thing, and it's not that it's different because everybody knows what to say, but it's tackling, right? It's stopping the run game, slowing them down, and trying to force Oregon into obvious passing scenarios. And it's not like that's going to be any easier because Bo Nix is really good at getting out of the pocket, using his legs, and doing all those different things, just kind of with the ball in his hands. But if you can just not allow chunk plays on the ground on seemingly every single drive, that's going to go a really long way towards just kind of making Oregon a little bit more one-dimensional. And Bo Nix hasn't taken a whole ton of deep shots this year. It's still something he's capable of. We know that. But it's just kind of the more that you're able to not only just kind of force them into what you want to do defensively, but also like this pass rush is good. We know this. Just because they have 6 sacks on the year doesn't mean that they're not a good team or they're not a good, talented group. I saw a stat somewhere out there that Braylon Trice still has the highest win rate of any edge rusher in the conference, or pass rush win rate, which didn't surprise me at all, especially when he gets held on every single play too. But it's something where I still have a lot of faith in this defensive line to be able to get after the quarterback, even though Oregon's offensive line is also really good. It's just this. I'm very curious to see how that matchup plays out, and I think that it's going to come down to just kind of like how it did last year, where there's one key sack at a crucial time.
Exactly. Well, I mean, that's kind of the theme from Washington's defense, even all last season, right? Where they had plenty of sacks, but sure. The one against Quinn Ewers in the opening play of the game, and then on the final drive, right? It came perfect time. You set the tone, and then you finish it off. This is just a team where, I talked with Zion Tupuola-Vatui on Wednesday about it, where he said that, we know we're getting pressure. We just haven't gotten home as much as we want to, but we're at least getting the pressure, right? We're not getting like blown off the ball. We're not getting and Braylon's getting double teamed on almost every single snap at this point. And so Zion has been able to have his moments, right, this season, especially against Michigan State.
For sure, yeah.
But, we're still kind of waiting for that consistent Zion to emerge. So maybe this is a game, and especially after last season, he's certainly motivated against Oregon. So everybody is. So it's one of those where, maybe if Braylon gets double teamed and forces Bo one way, you have Zion on the other end just to take his head off.
Absolutely.
Clean. In a clean way.
Oh,
I'm not encouraging targeting. I'm not doing that.
And if you want to hear more about this matchup, one great place to do it is on Locked On College Football Live, because college football season is here. And this season, Locked On is kicking up our coverage with Locked On College Football Kickoff Live. Each Friday, Locked On will go live at 11 a.m. Eastern on every Locked On College YouTube channel. College Football Kickoff Live cover playoff implications, conference rivalry games, probably going to spend a lot of time on this one, and go in depth like only Locked On can, including insight and analysis from our stable of Locked On College hosts covering their team every day. Find Locked On College Football Kickoff Live every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern on any Locked On College YouTube channel. You won't want to miss it. And just kind of, Lars, sticking with the theme of the defense here, I think that there's still no bigger, I don't want to say question mark, because he was in pads at practice both yesterday and today, but just no bigger, just kind of factor for Washington right now than the health of Tuli Gasanoa at defensive tackle, where if he's able to play even on a limited snap count, that he's the kind of guy who can make an impact against more of the run game at this point, because the Huskies do have a few talented pass rushing defensive tackles, where I really like what Fatu Tuitele can do, Javon Parker, and I'm really curious to see if he's healthy and if he's able to go.
Yeah, I think that's the big question that I had. Going into the week, I didn't think he was. It's obviously certainly promising that he's been able to at least practice or be out there and be suited. Because again, when we said it before, where do we think they would dress him just to not play him? No, I think if he's going to play, he's going to suit, right? So I think the fact that he's at least playing in practice, he's participating. Because I think otherwise he just probably wouldn't be a practice. I think that would, if he was going to be out for the game, I just think he would probably be doing rehab or something along those lines. So the fact that he's actually potentially in line to play, I think is true. So because as you said, you can take 20 snaps from him. You don't need the whole game, because you have a decent enough depth there, but you need that big body to clog the lanes, especially on first and second down. As you mentioned, I think third down especially, because if you're able to get third and long and maybe move the pocket a little bit, things like that.
You kind of take him off the field and in some of those scenarios too, give him a rest and just kind of keep him fresh and keep him healthy.
Exactly, but still have him healthy enough to be able to play in the game to where you're not risking him, but you also know, hey, we'll keep you on a pitch, like a relief pitcher,
right.
We don't need you to go 5 innings, we just need you to go an inning and a third. Just give us something, just give us enough in the key moments when you really, really need it.
You're killing it with these baseball just analogies here today. I love it. Are you ready for bold predictions? Because I'm ready to get into it.
I was gonna say I would kind of tease it already with
it's Oregon week, so I know we're gonna have a lot of fun ones. But before we can get into that, it's time for a quick message from our friends over at LinkedIn. Because these days, every new potential hire can feel like a high stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. All you have to do is add your job and the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience, so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. And that's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 delivering quality candidates versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. So I will say one thing that this is just kind of kick off the bold predictions here. This is going to be a huge recruiting weekend for the Huskies. They're going to be, I saw somebody say that there might be close to 40 or 50 prospects on campus from just different classes over the next couple of years, including 2024. And I know there are rumors swirling, and my bold prediction is that Kalen DeBoer is going to announce multiple new commits between when you're listening to this on Thursday or Friday or whenever the everydayers out there are listening to this, and Sunday. That's one of my bold predictions.
I see what you did there.
Did I do something? I don't.
No, I'm just saying the framing of that could not have been any better because that window. Because I mean, if you just caveat and say on Sunday they will get multiple commits, that's it's much like the 1.5, right? Where the 1.5 punts in the game.
Exactly.
Okay, does each team get one? Does one get two? Does Washington never punt? Does Oregon never punt? I mean, that's a good bet. Multiple bets. Yeah, and I think that it's true because I mean, when I asked Kalen DeBoer on Monday about the recruiting perception on the recruiting show, he's like, "Well, we're basically closed up. I mean, we got a couple spots in 24, right? And we've talked about that.
Right.
There's a couple of guys that they would take, but for the most part, they're done with 24 on a high school recruiting perspective. Again,
transfer portal, different story. Yeah,
exactly. I was going to say that portal is going to be wide open for business here in about
couple of months.
Yeah, a couple of months. Yeah. So I like that one, but yeah, I mean, I think there's if they can get a couple 25s early in the boat, this early on and hold on to them, that speaks to Kalen's power as a recruiter and saying, hey, you know what, it's hard for us to project, but if you want to come in now, they're going to be more and more selective. Even though 25 is going to be a bigger class.
Yeah. No, go ahead. Yeah.
It'll be a bigger class, so they're not just going to take guys early and let them go like they did with the pair earlier this year. But I think because of how that ended up, it's like, hey, we want to make sure the caliber of guy we're bringing in is somebody that we're okay. Hey, if he decommits or flips or whatever, we unfortunately lose him, so be it, because it's against Ohio State or it's against Michigan. It's a big-time program, not a guy that's like, we're kind of okay if he's not necessarily here.
Right. The last thing I wanted to mention before we get to your first bold prediction, because I know we've both got some fun ones cooking up for this show. I think that this class of 2025 has the potential to be, and this, you can call this a bold prediction if you want, but I'm going to get on this boat super early that Washington's class of 2025, especially if you are able to because I'm not going to step on the toes of the guys over at 247 who do a really great job of putting out the whole list of visitors, and they put that behind a paywall. So we're not going to just throw that out on here, but with the list of names that are visiting, that are coming up, if they can just get a couple of those guys in the boat soon, we don't even have to say by this weekend, right? But if some of those names are seriously considering Washington and they're able to secure some commitments from some of these guys early on in the process, then I think that this is going to be a top 20 recruiting class just in the country in 2025.
Yeah, and I wonder if we'll see a local kid go first.
Are you hinting at something there?
I don't know. The thought just occurred to me. I don't know. We'll see. How it plays out. However, I think that the local commit would be for 2025, not 2025.
Yeah.
Just to be clear on that, because
I'm picking up what you're putting down there.
Because I don't know what JBJ was going to do. So Jason Brown Jr. I think that one's kind of that's our hard one to sort out. So let's move on to my bold prediction.
Yeah, let's enough with it being cryptic from us.
Right. Let's get back to the nuts and bolts of this thing. So I'll go on defense. I think somebody's gonna get a sack. I don't know. I want to say it's Braylon, right? Because that would almost be the easy one in the way where it's like, hey, if anybody does get a sack, it's gonna be him. But give me Fatuitele.
I like this because I have one just like this too.
So just one sack, but I think he's gonna be the one that gets it.
So I also wanted to make to go with a highlighted interior guy getting a sack, but I was gonna go with my guy Javon Parker. I feel like if they can get pressure from the interior, this totally just changes the game plan, right? And I love what Javon Parker does, and I think that he's the kind of guy who can make an impact in a game like this. And yeah, if I had to pick one guy from the interior of the defensive line to get a sack, I'm picking Javon Parker.
And that's a good bet because he's obviously going to play a heavy role in this game. Whether or not Julie is starting and healthy, I think Javon's going to, because of that questionable health, play a significant number of snaps in the game. And he brings what I mean. MJ is kind of like a mover. Is a mover, right? Kind of a not necessarily a true pass rusher for miniature. And Tuli is obviously a big body. Fatui is kind of the hybrid of those two, but Javon's a more just natural pass rusher between him and Tua Taylor.
Yes.
All right. Imagine if you had those two starting, Fatui and Javon. I feel like that would be a freak show.
We might see that next year. That's very possible.
Yeah, you could actually. Yeah, you could theoretically. Yeah.
What's your next one?
The part of me says I want to either go multiple interceptions.
Ooh.
Because for some reason I'm thinking a defensive lineman is going to get a tipped interception, and then there will be
that's a bold one. I like that.
And then there will be another, Eddie, Camfab, Muhammad, somebody else, insert more traditional person, right. A defender getting an interception. But I think there's going to be, and that's going to be how this game turns. That's going to be where the tide turns in this game, is where it's going to be it could even be Bo just hits it off somebody's helmet and it balls up in the air. Somebody pulls it down, Braylon or Zion brings it down, and whether they house it or not, I'm not going to go there. But that's just too bold.
I think if you predict like a Braylon Trice interception and that happens, like I know we don't have points on this, even though we should do stuff like that. But that I would give you like 10 points for that.
10. Hey.
If you predict a defensive lineman interception, that's like whatever the max that we would give. That's what that would be.
And I will say, I mean, my record on the show speaks for itself. Of my bold predictions actually being pretty accurate. So
hey,
we have
close.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think we're usually about 80%.
Yeah,
85%. We usually get one wrong because we have to.
That's why people need to subscribe. Oh, dude, we can't act like we're like the crystal ball that I have, like just sitting over here. We can't tell people that it's there. I definitely didn't just do that. But yeah, like we got to just like kind of throw out one wrong one on purpose. And this one is because I've got one here that I know is going to be correct. Michael Penix, over 400 yards and over 4 touchdowns.
Interesting. Okay, yeah. So we are tripling down on the no defense. I'm giving the defense a hope, and I mean because that's the case, right? Where it's either going to be no interceptions and it's just a boat race. It's a 2-team boat race, and the first one to 65 wins, or you have it's manageable. It's 38-35. I mean, Penix had an interception last year, so I mean it's not unforeseen to have an interception. Bo is usually pretty good at keeping the ball clean as well. So I think 2 really good quarterbacks going against the defense that just got called out on national television by everyone and their grandmother at this point. It's someone's going to be motivated in that secondary to make a play, and whether Thaddeus Dixon shows up, maybe. I mean, it's there's a number of guys to where it's always going to be that 3rd, 4th tier guy, right? That I mean, because it's not bold to say Eddie gets a sack or Braylon gets a sack or, Roma Odunze goes for 7 and 120 and 2 touchdowns, right? Because that's almost expected, right? That's not a slight, right? But it's like that's the point. It's like when we look at the Arizona game where I said Jeremy Bernard anytime touchdown, so I'm going to go back to that. I'm going to say Will Nixon. I feel like we've had that one in. No, but I'm going to say Will Nixon anytime touchdown.
Oh, I like that one.
So anytime touchdown, but I don't know if it'll be a run or a pass because Will can do both. But I also think that Dylan will get at least one rushing touchdown in this game to make it 3 straight games with rushing touchdowns.
So, because I like that a lot, and I think that we could. This is the kind of game where you might see some multiple back sets just to kind of see what Oregon is rolling out there. You can do a lot of different things, but I just wanted to make a comment on the Jeremy Bernard one because I was thinking about it. Like, we've had that like every single week, and it's not a bad thing, and we've hit more often than we haven't. So it's not like we're wrong, but I wanted to stick with the wide receivers here. And I wanted to go with Jalen McMillan will be the team's leading receiver. And since I have 400 yards and 4 touchdowns for Penix, I think somebody's grabbing 2. I think McMillan's getting 2. You're holding up 3 fingers. I think he gets 2 because I think Rome gets 1, and I think Jalen Polk gets 1.
See, because my thing is, if Will Nixon doesn't get that anytime touchdown, J-Mac's going to have 3 total touchdowns. That's why I was bringing up 3 to
I
where
like that edge, yeah.
another way to where somebody else is, because Ryan Grubb's going to cook it up in the red zone when they get there.
Dude, he's already actually we know this.
If they get there, because they also could just house it 75 on the first play and just call it a wrap. So the man is really interesting.
So you're saying that's your next bold prediction: 75-yard house call on the first play of the game?
No, we're not doing that. You want one more bold one from me?
Yeah, let's get one more.
All right.
You've had some good ones so far, and is this your intentionally wrong one, or is this one that you're looking up into the crystal ball and you know it's going to hit?
No, I'm gonna go back to the last segment. 1.5 punts for the team. I'm gonna take the under on 1.5 punts. I think there will be 1 punt in the game.
1 punt. Okay, so there still could be turnovers. I like that, and there could still be turnovers. There are a lot of things there that that can still just impact the game, I would say. All right, I got one more here for you. And this is a double down. I know we've talked about this one before, but I'm going to go back to it, and then we're going to go to Lars' super accurate, never wrong, always just right on the money score prediction. And I'm going to say Josh Cuevas is the team's leading receiver at tight end again. I know I had 2 leading receiver ones back to back there, but I really like how he was worked into the offense in the Arizona game with that long catch, and I have a feeling that we could see a lot more of him in this game. So that's where I'm going to go there. My reasoning: I know 2 receiver one or 2 like just receiving yards ones, probably kind of boring. Didn't switch it up there, but that's what this team does. They throw the ball. So.
Yeah, I would have thought because it's a tight end going against a green team that you would have gone back to Jack Westover because he's the guy that destroys green teams.
But he had his already this year, so now it's time for Josh Cuevas.
No, I know, but I'm saying he's doing it against teams, the green team.
No, I hear what you're saying. But because he already had his 3 touchdown game, now it's time for Josh Cuevas to just really have his breakout game.
So when did Devin Culp get his against Oregon State or Utah?
Yeah. I'm going to go Oregon State.
Yeah. I was going to say Oregon State or Washington State, one of the 2.
Yeah, I like that. All right. Score prediction?
All right. Here we go. What did I say? 42-38 Washington.
Okay. Oh, all right. I can see that. That's for all the FanDuel
cover over.
Yep. That's where I was going with this. And I can't think of a better place to wrap this up than with Lars just once again, it's going to nail his score prediction as he always does. He's clearly never been wrong on that. And thank you to all the everydayers out there for listening. Lars, thank you for being here as always. Make sure you all turn in on Friday because we are going to be doing a crossover with the one and only Spencer McLaughlin of Locked On Ducks and Locked On Pac-12. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Make sure you tune in for that. And if you don't know where to find it, you can find it wherever you get your podcast: YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music. We are there. We are everywhere. Make sure you subscribe. Leave this video a thumbs up. Leave us a 5-star review. If you're an audio listener, we really appreciate it. If you have any questions, feel free to tweet at us. Just do whatever you can. Leave a comment down in the YouTube section. We really appreciate you all listening, and we will talk to you on Friday.